Oh, g'day everyone and welcome to another edition of the Weekend Wrap brought to you by Crowcast. A massive week this week as we head into the finals for the first time since 2017. Isn't it great? And it's even better knowing that we are a pretty decent shot at having a bit of a say in final proceedings. So without any further ado, let's just crack straight into it, shall we? Good evening, and thanks for joining us on this eve of the 2025 AFL Final Series, of which we've been invited to attend this year, as Malcolm Blight would say, which is lovely. And our first engagement, of course, will be against the Collingwood Magpies on Thursday night. Joining us to talk all about that game and the rest of the final series and a couple other things. Brownie, how are you, sir?
Yeah, very good, mate. Just can't wait to get to Thursday night. Managed to secure a couple of tickets, so really looking forward to it.
All right, you're just elitist. Very good. Mac, how are you, mate?
No, good, very good. I'm very pleased with Brownie, but I'll be just watching from the lounge chair.
Yes, as will I, mate, as will I. And large Caucasian with elongated genitalia. How are you, sir?
Thanks, Fee. I don't have to say that. I won't confirm or deny.
Well, there's a... no, I'm not even going there. You can be whatever you want to be, mate. It's all good.
Depends if we're talking about Zach Taylor or not. Yeah, look, I'll say that I'm actually also like Brownie. I'm actually going to the game too, so I'm quite excited. But I'm also nervous because we haven't been in this position for so long. It's amazing to think that the last time we were in finals is we were top of the ladder.
Yeah.
So everything in between has been obviously a bit rubbish, but we didn't make a slow crawl. We went straight up to the top again. So it's a bit surreal, but it's exciting, obviously, at the same time.
Well, it's comforting to know, Macca, that there'll be two of us that'll be at the game and then there'll be two of us that'll know what we're talking about. So it'll be a good mix. It'll be a good mix next weekend.
It'll be interesting to see because actually I think you do get a different perspective at the game. And,
yeah, you do.
And when you're watching TV, you get a better look at the detail. So, it will be an interesting mix.
Yeah, no, very good. Thanks to everyone, of course, who's joined us on Discord and also on YouTube. My stupid chat program thingy relay thing is updated and I'm only getting the YouTube feed on the live cast, so apologies for that, but I can see you all on Discord. That's no problem. So if you do want to have your say in proceedings, as usual, just stick your hand up and we will endeavour to get you on and listen to your learned words. And of course, if you want to have your chat message on YouTube highlighted, then just stick in and right on cue, Radicus, just with another coffee. Thanks, mate. Still seems weird we finished, what did he say? Still seems weird we finished top and in the finals. I'm pumped and I'll be there Thursday too. Well, good on you, mate. That's fantastic to hear. And I wish I was going too, but such is life. We can't all be lucky. I know there was a fair bit of argy-bargy with regards to getting tickets. A few people complaining on Discord during the week that things timed out and their payments didn't go through and all the rest of it. So congrats to those who did manage to get a ticket and commiserations to the rest of us. All right, before we go on, Macca, before we go on, I'd like to hear what you were just about to say.
What I was going to say is I just hope that as a result of that, the difficulty in Adelaide people getting on it, I didn't hear the Victorians had any trouble getting on. I just hope that we don't have a disproportionate amount of Collingwood supporters over.
No, I heard it was going to be 90-10 or something like that.
I'll take that.
So yeah, you'd be happy.
I think a Thursday night should help.
Yeah, so you're right, big man. Considering it's Thursday night, it'd be difficult for non South Australian Collingwood fans to get over. But of course, there's a fair contingency in South Australia, so I expect they'd be fairly vocal. But I would also expect that the local crowd will make their presence felt and drown them out substantially. And it'd be disappointing if they didn't. Now, just before we get on to the main proceedings, of course, there was a final on today, and much to our chagrin, and we might just mute Brownie at this point because he's a Bay fan. The Crows in the SANFL went down by a point right at the death to stupid Glenelg, and no one was pretty happy about that. Chase Jones got an awkward bounce there right towards the end. The umpires decided that there was only one team playing in the last quarter, and standard drill for SANFL. But it was a bloody good game though, wasn't it, big man?
No, it was we always talk about the quality of the SANFL teams, but Glenelg are pretty legit. They've obviously had some success in recent times, and they've got the star power more than any other team. A lot of their players are ex-AFL listed, and a couple of them were serious players. So look, it is what it is. The umpiring that last quarter, it felt like there was a directive there. I know that's all conspiracy theories, but when you look at the history of our umpiring in the SANFL, it's diabolical. So it can't just all be paranoia on our behalf. But the boys fought pretty well. We didn't have our strongest team in either. Obviously, there's no Imagine. He got pulled late before the game. Yeah. And Ned Atkinson was concussed, and we couldn't play Sid Draper because of the rules. So
how stupid was that? Sid's played 90% of the season. 90% of the season, just about. Doesn't play the last game, and all of a sudden he can't play in the finals. When the hell was that a thing?
It is what it is. At least we don't think we have a player limit anymore, as far as I'm aware, because we used to have a limit on actually the number who could play. But it's also Matt Crouch retiring too, so we didn't have he was injured, and Oscar Ryan's injured, and it wasn't our strongest team by any means, but they do have a bit of fight about them, these guys, and as long as we continue to be in the AFL finals, they've got plenty to play for. So. But just quickly, Cookie was fantastic. Had 6 goals. He could have kicked 7th, and he was just clean as a whistle in the wet. It was wet for the majority of the game. Yeah. Harry Schoenberg was really good. James Borlase was really good. He played really well on Big Bean, who's been a real trouble for us for a while now.
Yep.
And I thought Lockie McAndrew was really good with his follow-up work, and he obviously dominated the tap work. So no, there was a lot to like, but unfortunately, a few boys had some brain fades in the last 5-10 minutes, and we just weren't very clutch, unfortunately, and let them get the ascendancy with like a minute to go. So it was play. I'm sure we'll come out and play well against Norwood next week.
Yeah, as Vardy said in the chat too, Butts played pretty well too, so that's a good sign that a couple of our defenders are in good nick. If they're required to pick up some slack during the AFL final series. All right. Okay, so it's been a relatively uneventful week, apart from some off-field argy-bargy stuff, which I don't really want to talk about. Does anyone want to talk about that? What we were talking about before the cast?
That particular thing? No, that doesn't.
No, I don't want to talk about that. Yeah, So really, it looks like a clean sheet as far as the Crows are concerned, apart from Josh Rochelle. And looks like Max has got himself in the frame, Macca, for selection, which is a good thing. So, and I reckon the boys would have benefited from just having a bit of a freshen up during the week.
Yeah, it really is really good to have him back, but. The question is where we got to play Max, because there's a lot of talk about that he might be used on a half-forward flank against the other Dacos, Josh, and used basically as a negative half-forward. Look, I think he's capable of doing it, but he's such a good backman. But you could play him in any position, really, Mike Lanny. You could play him, you could give him a run on the ball even. The question is, Bond's done really good down there. He didn't have a good he did a good game against Elliott. Yeah, look, as far as I'm concerned, he's definitely going to be in the side. That's for certain. It's a question of, and there has been a bit of rumour that he might play as a half forward against Josh Dacos. So whether that unbalances the team or not, I don't really know. It's that's sort of what they're leaking out, but maybe they've got other plans for him. I really don't know. What do you think, Pete?
Well, I was going to throw it at Brownie. What do you reckon about that?
It's a hard one because he's played most of his football in the back lines. He had that one game where he drifted forward and kicked 3 goals, so he's obviously got a bit of forward craft. Yeah. I don't mind the idea of him playing a sort of negating role on Josh Dacos, because I think if it's him or Lockie Murphy, I'd rather have Michael Annie in the forward line, because I think he's got a lot more proactive goal sense, and there's more chance that he's going to do something positive as well as hopefully negate Dacos. I don't think you can cut Dacos out of the game, but if you can cut him down to 15 or 20 possessions, I think that's going to be a win. And if he can sneak a goal or two or just a couple of goal assists, I think that's going to be a better result than last time when we played them. Lockie Murphy did do a reasonable job negating him, but he didn't do anything really proactive.
No,
so I think
he didn't really.
Michael Annie may be a benefit.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be Lockie Murphy played today, so that's one good thing. Big man, my impression was that we played a fairly straight bat against Collingwood, and I reckon Collingwood played a fairly straight bat against us in round 23. Could you see a move like Michael Annie onto Dacos being something that might be in the kit bag?
I think it's a possibility. It'd be interesting to see if it's just being thrown out there by the club to get Collingwood thinking, or if we're actually legit going to do it, because we've done it once with Michael Annie, and that was against Vloston. We've had other opportunities to do it throughout the year against even better defenders than Vloston, and we haven't done it. But it does seem like as the years progress, we've been more and more inclined to try and negate opposition halfbacks. We've seen Murphy, Taylor, and others sort of have that role. So it does sort of make sense, doesn't it? And I guess with Hugh Bond staying in the team, which I think is likely given how it was at training. He was in the A team, and I think they're still really considering him for that Elliott role. Then it would make sense to play Max in that role as well, in the forward role. And look, if Elliott gets off the chain and Bond's having a stinker, then you can always just swap that back. But yeah, I think it's probably more likely to happen than not. But you never know if clubs are playing ducks or drakes and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Of course, the wild card for them, I guess, is whether Bobby Hill gets a crack. He didn't play against us last time. I don't know what his status is. It seems a little bit up in the air with regards to his status. But look, I'd be inclined to keep Bond in. But then it makes for a fairly interesting selection, as Macca alluded to, with regards to who comes out. We had, I was trying to think, because the AFL website doesn't have the round 24 team up anymore, but we had Dowling in, and who was the other one that was in? Brodie Smith, yeah?
Sid Draper as well.
Oh, Sid Draper.
Sid Draper.
Right.
Yeah. He'll be in out. Draper will be in out, yeah.
Now, Dowling
and
didn't
Pedler
play today either, did he?
No, so the club had the club over the last, had a session on Sunday, and it was about a 26-man group. So that's essentially your 23 plus, and Dowling was in that group. So was Sid, to be fair, but I think that's more because he actually wasn't allowed to play SNFL, so he had to do something. But I think that team's locked in. So Pedler was in that group, and Dowling, Bond, Taylor, all those sorts of guys you think could be Smith. They're all they're all in the mix. So
yeah, so Sid and Dowling are the two. with Pedler and Max the likely two that would come in. I don't think they'll try Peds in a negating role again, but I wonder whether they will bring Pedler in just to give us an extra small forward. Otherwise, we might be a little bit top heavy, particularly if it's a bit damp on Thursday night. Who knows what the weather's going to be doing? I'd be inclined to think that Pedler will come in, and Max will come in with probably Smith going to the sub. That's how I see it. Or maybe
he was already
Zach
sub, wasn't
Taylor.
So he would just be staying as sub, Smithy.
Yeah,
he was the sub in the North game.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, he was. That's right. No, Dowling was. No, Dowling started.
No, Dowling played the whole game. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, so Smith will stay sub.
Stiff.
Oh, of course he'd be stiff, but he's only played one game for the season. Max is obviously an obvious in, and I think Pedler probably because of the fact that we don't have Rankin, I just feel Macca as if they'll want an extra small forward to assist Benny Keys, but also to give Keys a bit of license. I feel like when he doesn't have any support network around him, he's not as effective getting up and down the ground, and I think they'd want him to have a bit of license to get up and down the ground a bit.
I would think Pedler's certainly come back in. Just for the very reasons you were just saying, Pete. Otherwise, it's just going to be too tall and not enough small. And I think that Pedler he did show until he got injured that I thought he was going pretty well. So I think he's a certainty to play. Draper's a certainty to be out. That's the first one that's going to go out. And I reckon Michael Annie and we mentioned Draper goes out. I'm just wondering who's going to
Dowling.
Got to go out.
Dowling.
You reckon Dowling's a certainty? Do you? Do you reckon
who else comes out?
Well, Taylor. I thought Taylor was very.
Oh boy.
But I thought Taylor didn't play that well. He only had the 9 possession last game. So, and I'm not saying that's a certainty, but I mean I'm just looking at you talk about possibility. I think that's a possibility. So Peds and Mike Laney come in. I think they're the two in. Draper's a definite out. Somebody's got the chat. Smith goes out, but I think Smith's been pretty handy. So I think I'd like to keep him in the squad in there if it's possible.
What do you reckon, Brad?
I think. Sorry.
Yeah, I think Taylor is pretty safe. He's got body of work now the last 10 games, and he's been up and down. But I think he's just looking like he's comfortable at the level. So I think it's a bit of a risk if you were to get rid of him for Dowling after Dowling's only had one game. I think that's taking a bit of a risk at this time of year. So I think Taylor stays. I think Dowling's probably unlucky because he did some good stuff. A bit like you said last week, Fane, he made a few mistakes, but he did some really good stuff as well. So it's a bit stiff to go, but I think, on the back of just one game for the year, it's pretty hard to justify keeping him. And I think Pedler coming in, as well as I agree, it sort of frees up Benny Keys a bit more. It also gives us a bit more physicality in the forward line. And I think against Collingwood in a final, I think physicality is going to be really important, and that's something he brings in spades. So, I'm really looking forward to him being back.
Yeah, I'm inclined to go that way too. Even if they end up selecting Bobby Hill, I don't think we have to react to you. I guess, Mac, I can see your point about Zach Taylor. I just don't know. I'm kind of on Brownie's side with regards to games played. Zach's sort of embedded himself in the team to a degree. Billy, made every post a winner more or less when he came in. And certainly didn't do his selection credentials any harm. If nothing else, I think he put his hand up as a very viable alternative in the event of injury, notwithstanding we might get Rash back, depending on how the cards full. So it's not bad to have Billy in good nick as a backstop. I just don't think he makes best 23.
Oh, look, and you might be right. It's just that Barney Magic says in the chat, which was quite true, that Taylor was also quiet against the Pies. So, I mean, he's had 2 quiet ones in a row. Now,
He's not a big.
Look at them and say,
He's not a big possession winner anyway.
no, and it also depends on what role they've got him playing as well. Well, whether he's supposed to be a negating role, which they have used him quite a bit, and that does come into it. So they would know that more than we do, that when he's supposed to be attacking and when he's supposed to be defending. And he has been used as a tagging type quite a bit. So look, he has got on his the advantage on his side, that the fact that he's been there for about 8, 9, 10 games in a row. So. And the fact that he at times has played some very good footy. And Dowling just had the one game. So I suppose that really does put Dowling under more pressure. It just depends whether they think that Taylor has gone a little bit out of form, or whether they just think that he's done the job that he's been asked to do.
Jake in the YouTube chat puts forward Rash as a sub. I think we talked about this briefly last week. I'm in two minds about if Rash is actually good to play, I would play him. I would actually play him as a sub. The problem is that whichever game he comes in, he's going to be underdone. So if he is ready to go, then you may as well get some time into him, like even if it's only half a game. That's kind of how I'm thinking. Big man, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm sure he's doing a lot of work behind the scenes, but at the training, he's still just doing light drills. He's not doing like the main drills with the team. So he's still catching up there, which suggests to me that I actually think the earliest will be, obviously next week. I think that's still a chance of not happening, assuming if we're in a semi next week. I'd like to not think, to think that that's not the case, but he's still he's still got strapping on. He hasn't got the brace or anything, but he's got knee strapping on, and he's not going full to pelt at the moment. He's sort of still doing a lot of rehab stuff. So it would be a fair shock to the system to ask him to play in a final in 10 days time or 9 days time, whatever it's going to be. So I'd lean towards, I definitely wouldn't play him this week, even if we were considering it. I just don't think it's worth the risk. I hate playing underdone players in finals, especially, let alone in the home and away season. But yeah,
he's
I think
going to be underdone
might be
regardless.
He is, but there's underdone, and then there's just plain not ready, and he's just not ready now. And I don't know how much changes in 9 days or so, whatever they get between games. If we play in a semi, I think there's a good chance he doesn't play in a semi. He would definitely play in a prelim.
Yeah, but I mean, if he plays in a prelim, he's going to have to be sub, or he's going to have to. It would be highly doubtful that he comes straight back in after 9 weeks. And as you say, if he's still not full training right now, there's no way he comes in and plays a full game in a prelim. No way.
No way. Oh, gee, maybe. I don't know. I'd back him in, Fiend.
But he wouldn't. He wouldn't have the tank. He wouldn't have the tank.
Well, likely. That's still some time away. That's still over. It's over a fortnight later.
Yeah.
I think it's touch and go whether he could. I mean, you might be right. He might be sub, but I don't know. He's so classy, and he does. If he just stays deep, and I know that's not how it works these days, but if we can play him mostly deep, I'd still back him in. I think he's got enough games on his belt now to be able to run out a game or at least get close at this stage of the year.
Mate, it's a lot of match conditioning that you lose in two and a bit months.
It is.
And finals ramps up in intensity as it is, Brownie. And I guess that's why I was thinking, if he is physically, if the knee is sound and he's able to play, I'd be inclined to give him a sub vest and see if we can get a quarter and a half into him or something like that.
Yeah, well, listen to Matthew Nick's Thursday night being interviewed. He said he was clearly 2 weeks behind Michael Annie. So from their point of view, I think they're aiming at the prelim is going to be his first opportunity to play. But I'm a little bit like Big Man. I'm more inclined to say if he's playing a deep forward role, there's more likely he could get through the game. He mightn't quite do as much work as he normally does, but I'd rather have him on the ground and just hope that he can jag those 2 or 3 opportunities he gets, rather than wait to bring him on as a sub, and he might come on until the last quarter, and then whether it's an impact or not, who knows?
You might
just
start
I suppose
him
it depends
and
if
see
he's
how he goes.
Yeah, but I reckon prelim finals really where they're aiming for him, and I think they'd be stupid to try and bring him back any sooner.
Oh well, yeah. I'm not suggesting it by any stretch they should risk him. I'm just I guess my hypothetical was that if he was physically ready, then I think he's in our best 23, maybe with a high vis on, or start the game with a view to having someone like Zach Taylor as a sub who can come on when he runs out of gas, if that's how it pans out. But anyway, I guess we'll see as time goes on. You never know; they might be playing ducks and drakes and keeping Rash under the belt. Because his Instagram certainly is showing that he's done plenty of work in the gym. That's for sure. I don't think Collingwood will have a lot of surprises to throw at us. Bobby Hill was one that I've mentioned. Can you think of any others, big man?
Well, I feel sorry for Jeremy Howe. He was out in the game, to play us last time. He got injured, and now he's injured again just before they play us again. So it's beneficial for us because he's been a problem for us in the past, particularly on text. He's too agile and quick for text. So it helps us out there. It'll be interesting to see if they do bring Bobby in. I mean, that's not really quite in the Rochelle camp thing because he hasn't been injured per se, but he's also one that's probably lost a lot of match fitness, and I know he's a really quality player, but even good players like him, it's very hard just to go straight back into a bloody qualifying final. So if he does play, I don't think you'd rather him not play than play, but I think there's a chance it doesn't hurt us too much.
He's just one of those players that can get 4 or 5 key touches at key moments and kill you. That's the problem.
Well, it's a bit like Willie Roll at Port, isn't it? You rather him not play, but if he's not in his best condition, then I don't think he's ever going to really destroy us. But I think that apart from that, no, I can't see too much in terms of personnel anyway. I don't think there'll be too many differences. I think both teams are going to be pretty much the same, except we'll have no Rankin, but we get Max back in. And they might have Bobby or might not have Bobby Hill in it. There might be someone I'm forgetting. If someone in the chat can think of someone that I'm forgetting, Mason Cox. Well, that's a funny one, isn't it? Because I think my majority of us wouldn't really rate Mason Cox, but he does pose a problem in terms of
big game player. He's proven to be a big game player.
Mason Cox. Okay, maybe he's had a couple.
Oh, come on. He's had some good finals. No. He's had good finals, Mason Cox.
All right.
He's played good finals. He came up very strong in their last premiership year.
All right. I'll back you in there, Fiend. He's not something I'd normally worry about. The only thing is it does stretch out defence in terms of height. We don't really have anyone to take those really tall forwards with no butts in the team. So it would probably stretch us a bit, but at the same time, we'd probably make up for it at ground level. So I don't see that altering things too much. And it sounds like Murray's ahead of Butts now because obviously Butsy played in the SANFL. So I don't think we're going to change our defensive setup to accommodate Mason Cox.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they're basically, apart from Howe and Hill, I think they're pretty much the only two. There might be some peripherals, but I think that's about it. I don't know how Mychik's going with his busted hand or whatever he's got. Oh, McCreary's the other one. He came back in round 24, didn't he, McCreary?
Yeah, he
played against us, didn't he?
Yeah, he played against us.
He played against us. Yep.
Vardy reckons he's under a cloud.
He's always under a cloud.
Vardy, we're all under a cloud at the moment with this weather.
Mercuri's one of those players where he's dangerous, but he gets injured a lot. He's another one you'd rather not have in the team just because he has that electric speed. So it's like, who do you match up on him? I mean, who do we match up on? If we had Bond on Elliott and Max playing on a forward tag on Dacos, like, it'd be interesting to see who we put on Hill. Is it Laird? Like, do we trust Laird? Laird's more of a fine ball, get ball kind of guy. He's not. I don't know how defensive minded he is. So, like, who would we play on Bobby then?
Well, that kind of leads me to my next point of discussion, because to me, Collingwood and Adelaide are two of the more structured teams in the competition, and we both have a couple of game breakers, Mako. They've got, obviously, Dacos and Elliott can tear you up, etc. And we've got Geordie Dawson and, those both. So we've both got one or two weapons, but by and large, we win and lose games on structure. And so I don't know, apart from the obvious, Dacos and Elliott, I don't know whether there's anyone else that we would really not have faith in our structure to negate.
No, you're quite right. I mean, with the two teams that are playing are very, very structured teams, but they're also very aware of other players in the opposition. I was just thinking that Pendlebury was a person that really bothered us. Every time he got the ball, he just used it so beautifully. I don't know whether he's the only one that outside the players that you mentioned that I would be thinking about them. They might be not necessarily tagging him, but paying him a little bit more attention, because he got away from us a bit in that game, and he was one of the driving forces. But one of the reasons they was coming back at us. So because he might be old, but he's smart. He is really smart in the head, and he doesn't like wasting the ball.
Well,
so,
you're old too, Macca. You're old Macca too, and we don't hold that against you. So, there's been times when I've thought about tagging you on this podcast. So I don't think age has got anything to do with it. I think one of the reasons Pendlebury got off the chain, I watched a bit of the Collingwood game again over the weekend, and we were going very much head to head with their midfield. Dawson was starting on him a bit, Peatling was on him a little bit, but it was Cameron toweling up O'Brien that was giving them a lot of first looks in those competitions. And I think a lot of how our midfield has tailed off over the last 3 or 4 weeks has got to do with Riley O'Brien signing his freaking contract.
He got caned. He was caned against Collingwood, and take his contract away from him, make him hungry again. He's got to play with that same hunger that he did before he signed his contract, because he was definitely he was slaughtered by Cox.
The red flag moment was when he started.
Cameron.
The red flag moment was when Rob started talking about the bloody Nixie called a Draper and like whether that's going to affect Rob's position as the main ruck in the team. Like, it's like that should have said enough about where Rob's head is. Like, that's the stuff we worry about, because as much as Rob's a great in terms of preparation, they can't question anything that. But I do think maybe he gets a bit comfortable sometimes, if that makes sense.
And drops off in intensity at times.
Yeah, and we don't want him to be comfortable. That's the thing. So yeah, he needs to get back. And it is what it is. But like, if you look at the coaches' votes for the last 2 weeks, which just came out the other night, it was the opposition ruckman were like the two highest vote getters on the ground in both games, Darcy Cameron and then Tristan Xerri. So that's not great, because before then Rob hadn't conceded any coaches' votes basically to any opposition rucks. So that has to say something. Maybe he needs a break, but he's going to come back really, really spitting fire this week, this Thursday. The other thing I'll say about, you brought up Pendles, Macca, like, be nice if this time we don't let him just sit by himself at the side of the stoppage in the first quarter. I don't know what we were thinking in that first quarter last time we played, but he was by himself constantly.
Yeah, I know.
And so it's not shocking that he got his hands on it, because of course he's going to.
But he uses it so well once he's got it.
It was very interesting to see how we were set up at times against Collingwood. It was almost like it was a Mexican standoff, and we were just content to play the setup that we wanted to play and let Collingwood do whatever they wanted to do. And, you know, as we saw, it resulted in 71 inside 50s, and which isn't ideal. I just can't, Brownie, I can't see Nix being so single-minded this time around. I think I'm of the opinion that both sides get their powders dry, both coaches get their powders dry, and I think there will be more effort put into certain players, and I think I'd be shocked if there was the disparity of inside 50s again. If we give them 71 inside 50s this time around, they'll kick 20 goals.
Yeah, we certainly can't roll the dice like we did last time, but
No.
I think, Pendlebury especially at stoppage, it was just evident there was just no one with any trying to make any kind of contact with him. I think, definitely we'll have a strategy for him because he cut us up, and he's only got to get the ball 5 or 10 times and use it well, and it's gonna hurt us. But we can't afford that disparity of inside 50s this time. So hopefully Nick's and the coaching staff, have got some strategies set up. And even side bottom, I think last time we played him, he found a hell of a lot of space as well. And he's one guy that can, like, he's double-sided. He can cut you up. And I think, we've just got to be a bit more vigilant. But I think what you said before is it does start with Rob. And if he's got the intensity and he's getting his hands on the ball, or at least nullifying Cameron, then it's not going to be such of an issue. But he basically, the last 2 weeks, he's been almost a non-factor in the game. And not only in the taps, but he's also been getting monstered around the ground, like just not getting enough of the ball. So, I think Rob's got to really fire up. And if you can't get fired up for a final against Collingwood, something's wrong. So I'm sure he'll bring a lot more intensity this week.
Yeah. And I hope that the coaching staff have been honest with him about his performances, because he does need a bit of a rev, I think. And I think a lot hinges not only on his centre bounce work, but his around the ground work as well. If he allows Darcy to take too many marks or get involved in too many contests or possession chains in general play, then we're going to have a real problem, because Cameron is no slouch, and he can have a real impact if he's allowed to run around like an unregistered dog. Let's talk about the midfield a little bit, because obviously that's been seen by most of the pundits as our Achilles heel, I guess. My thoughts on our midfield is that a lot is going to depend on Berry and Saligo. I think we always know the effort we're going to get from Peatling, big man, and we always know what we're going to get from Dawson, but, Collingwood might put work into Dawson, or try to go head-to-head with Pendlebury with Dawson, which they did at times last time, to make Jordan a bit more accountable. But I think it's a big game for both those young lads to have an impact, because I think they won't obviously get the same attention that our bigger guns will have.
Yeah. Sligo, I don't know if I'd call him a barometer, but I think he's not too far off, because I feel like when he plays really well, we usually get the chocolates and we play much better, because he's got something a bit different to the other lads. He's not Dawson talented, but he's got like some serious class and smarts about him, and obviously he combines that with his intensity of the ball, and he's just a real nugget in there. But he does have games where he just doesn't touch the ball enough, and he's someone we do need to lift. I absolutely think that, because I think that you look at that inside 50 count, like if he can win a few more clearances, particularly around the grounds, like it's going to help so much in terms of restricting Collingwood's, running forward with the ball, where they can be so dangerous. Because once Collingwood get the ball, I know it didn't happen so much against when we last played them, because they were quite wasteful, but they're usually very good at sort of spotting up short targets, changing the angles. They really they scatter your defenders, and so we needed to get better in the midfield. There's no doubt about it. I do think in some ways our personnel in there are being underrated because they've definitely dropped off in the last month. So, media and such will look at that and say, well, that's where the Crows are going to fall short. And to an extent, there's no doubt that it's not our strongest suit. But at the same time, at the start of the year, we were talking about our midfield as an area that we really developed some strength. Like we knew Dawson was a gun. He's probably had his best year, but Saligo was going gangbusters at the start of the year. We need him to return to that sort of form in the final series. We don't have Rankin in there, unfortunately, but Peatlings, I think, he had a great game last week, and he's one that I agree can lift when required. Berry's a question mark because we can't trust him just yet. I still think that he's the one where I think we all want him to succeed because he has attributes that we like. He's got some pace out of stoppage, and he's obviously a great tackler, and he can take a mark as well. He's got elements to his game, but he's another one that sort of needs to lift it up. He's someone that sort of gets stuck in that mid-teens possession rate, maybe a couple, 3 or 4 clearances. Like, I'd love to see him lift that a bit too. Like, we're not a team that relies on huge numbers to the midfield. We're not like a Gold Coast with Rowell and Anderson getting 30 plus a week. That's just not how we operate. But we need to make it easier on our backs because at some point the dam wall is going to break. And as much as our defenders have been,
I'm surprised at your attitude about Berry. I think he's become quite a trustworthy midfielder. I think that his ability to extract the ball and run through congestion is at times better than Saligo. I think Saligo is the one that can sometimes fall into the trap of just being contest after contest and not get a lot of ball in clear space. Berry, I think you get what you get with Sam. I think Sam had an excellent game against North a couple of weeks ago, and I don't share your view on Sam at all, and I'm happy to be wrong because I often am. But I'm interested, Brownie. How do you feel about those two fellas?
I can see where Big Man's coming from with regard to Berry in terms of stats, but I think it's probably, it's more about what he does when he does get the ball. So if he gets 15 to 17 possessions, but he's breaking lines, he's kicking the ball inside 50, he's tackling hard. He's had a few score involvements and also kicked a few goals from 40, 15 metres out. So I think he definitely, he's grown a leg the last 10 weeks. So I think he's probably more damaging than Saligo, than Saligo has been the last few weeks. But Saligo, I think he's got potential to just step it up a bit. I don't know if he's been quite going as well as he can the last couple of weeks, and he's probably not. He's not the kind of guy that probably breaks lines as much as Berry, but he gets the ball. He generally uses the ball well and finds someone by hand or foot. So
when he's in good nick, he does. When he's in good nick, he does. When he's off, he can hack kick a bit and not use his evasive skills to get through traffic. I've found that's probably where I'd like Jake to get a little bit more away from the contest at times and provide links and get some open, uncontested ball. That's probably where I see us getting more out of Jake, because otherwise it's left up to Dawson and Peatling, and Peatling's a bit of a bull as well, so he gets a lot of inside stuff. We need those blokes to be working on the outside as well, particularly on transition and second and third possession out of contest and that sort of stuff. So I think that's where, for both Saligo and Berry, but particularly Saligo, that's where I'd like to see him get a bit more possession.
No, that's fair, because I think Berry's not someone credit to him, he's obviously improved his game, but he's not the one you want really getting the ball heaps in space, uncontested ball. Whereas Saligo is a better ball user, smarter decision maker. He's someone that you do want that.
I don't agree with you, but whatever.
Really, if you wanted the ball inside 50, who would you want it to kicking? You'd want Saligo kicking over Berry, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, but I don't. That's a bit of a straw man, because I don't think that makes Berry a bad deliverer of the ball at all. In fact, I can remember quite often Berry hitting blokes' tits out going into the forward 50. So I don't think Sam's a bad user of the ball at all.
I reckon the last. I was going to say in the
Sorry.
last game that he. I was just saying the last game that he played. I thought Berry ended up playing a great game actually, but I was very critical of him in the first, say, 10 minutes of the game. He did some terrible disposals in the first start of the game, but to his credit, he got himself back on track and ended up having a very, very good game. So, but I have to agree with you too, Fiend. I think that he's been a lot more consistent at the moment than Soligo. Soligo, I think, has got a much higher ceiling than Berry. I think he's got a much higher ceiling, but he's not at it at the moment. He's well down from it. And
I think I'd agree with that.
If he could just get back to his very, very best, we would be very well placed because he's got quite a high ceiling. Berry is playing very close to his ceiling. He's got a little bit more to go. I thought he was a little bit careless with his kicks in the early, in fairness to him, he was under pressure. But I thought as the game went on, he just got better and better and better. He ended up playing a very good game. So I think if we look at our mids, Dawson, he's in good form. Peatling's in good form. Berry's going all right. And so it's really the improvement's got to come from Soligo, because he's only about 50% rat power at the moment. And he can be a 30-31 possession player when he's having a really top game. This would be a good game for him to do it.
Yeah. Well, because as Big Man alluded to, we're not... I mean, we're a team that's built a reputation around contested ball, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're a clearance team. And often our stats have shown that we can lose or break even on clearance, but be very effective at the next possession or the next ground ball after clearance. All we really need to do is pressure the outlet from when the opposition gets the outlet, and we're quite good at winning that next contest. So that's why I get a bit worried about Soligo just being focused on contested ball, because that's not really where our strength is. Our strength is kind of... We're playing a bit like Collingwood. Remember, Macca, we used to say Collingwood used to just play rope-a-dope with us and almost circle the contest and wait for us to bloody crack in, and then we'd dish it out and they'd be there to sweat off it. That's kind of what we're doing now to some degree.
Well, that's actually what we did do against Collingwood last time we met them. So I'd certainly much rather have a situation where we at least had a break even in the midfield, or an advantage would be nice, but I think that's probably asking a little bit much against the quality of their midfield. But if we can break even with it and get the same number of 50 entries, we would win the game and win it comfortably, I think. If we take the last game as any indication, where they had a massive amount of inside 50s to ours. But so we have to, but they're not going to be as bad as that next time with their inside 50. So we have to take some of those away and convert them our way. Because if we end up with the same sort of number of inside 50s and they end up with the same number of inside 50s, we're going to lose. So we really would have to. We really have to win that ball out of centre a lot more than we did last time, and around all clearances, really.
The other area where I felt we were under particular pressure was Collingwood's ability to turn the ball over front of centre and get repeat inside 50s, which was the result, which resulted in that massive disparity. And we had blokes like Worrell and Hinge not really being effective with their disposal when we would get possession in the back half, particularly in the first half against Collingwood or in that first quarter. And I feel like that's where I feel our biggest weakness is. If we get put under pressure, frontal pressure in the back half, and we can't release the ball cleanly and get clean possession so that we can set up, I feel like that's where we struggle the most. And I think all season, when like Hawthorn got us like that for a little while when we played them, and Brisbane got us a bit like that earlier in the season, and Collingwood a couple of weeks ago, and even North last week for a while. I feel, and And to be honest with you, I feel like the key to that, and it's good that he's playing, is Rory Laird, because I think he's the bloke that provides that outlet. Even though his disposal isn't great, what he does is releases a Worrell or a Murray or a Keane with a short give out the back of the contest, rather than forcing those blokes to kick around the body or try to navigate through traffic, big man.
Yeah, it's well summed up, Fiend. Like, he's a good mop-up player, Lairdy. Yeah, as you said, he's not great by foot sometimes. Yeah, he's not the worst, but, he loves a good dump kick. But one thing he is very good is clean on the deck, and that helps release players, like you said, Worrell and such, who, look, Worrell, if we love him, he's a fantastic player and he's been awesome this year and deserved All-Australian. But, he's prone to hack kicks out of defence, and he doesn't like players coming at him. That's when he has a big wind up too, so he can get smothered or whatnot. Yeah. So he's someone that is vulnerable in a way, and I'd say in general we don't have many line breakers in defence to sort of get us out of trouble just by pure speed and agility.
Junior. Well, I mean, that said, we've got Junior and we've got Max back, and Max, I think, and
Max
Wayne are both quite composed. So I think Max is a big in. I think we've missed him, to be honest with you.
Well, he's one of those, like, when you got that sort of 16 best players and you take out one and you have to shift everyone up, and it makes a difference. We're not the only team that's copped injuries, and some have copped it worse. But you notice as soon as like a really important player of yours gets injured, it exposes you a little bit. I think we've done pretty well considering without Max, but he's someone we definitely would love having back in, whether it's in that forward role or playing in defence. Miller is an interesting one because, like, I think he's someone that's just steadily improved as the years gone on, and he's probably the closest we have to someone who can break the lines, although he doesn't always choose to do it. But one thing he does have is a lot of calmness under pressure, and so I love when the ball's in his hands, like, because he sort of steadies the boys around him. Hingy, Worrell, Murray, they can be a bit haphazard by foot. Yeah, and a bit frenetic, whereas guys like Miller has sort of calmed things down. So he's probably the one. So when he plays well, he's another one we generally send to play well. So, like, you're right. It is an issue because Collingwood put a lot of pressure on their opponents, and they've got some speedy forwards, and they're going to bring the heat. We know that. So hopefully we can adjust a bit quicker than we did last time, because last time we were, as you said, we were pretty exposed in that first quarter. It took us a while to sort of match their
Well, it took the quarter time break, didn't it? Vardy in the chat said Wayne's a tit hitter. Vardy, you got to be a bit careful, mate. We can't say things like that anymore because we'll be cancelled. Why don't we say
above the navel hitter,
a nice passer of the conveyance. That'll do. So look, I think the
chesticle,
a chesticle hitter.
Vardy, well done.
Vardy's been on the red wines tonight, I think. It's still up for debate whether Vardy's actually a male or a female, to be perfectly frank, considering he won't come on the chat and actually speak to us at, how long's it been now, Vardy? About bloody 8 years or whatever that we've had live chat going. Anyway. And speaking of which, all you blokes that are on, or all you people, I should say, that are on in the studio audience on Discord, feel free. It's an open night tonight, so if you do want to have your say or voice your opinion, then please put your hand up. We'd love to have some other opinions.
I've lost Dean.
Oh no!
Have we gone again?
It's happened again. Brownie, mate, you're the host. You take over. Look, actually,
we'll just give him a moment. That's it.
Well, you take over, mate. Big man, take over.
While just quickly, Matt Crouch retired obviously this week, and I'm sure he's had his critics over the journey because of the way he plays and such. But Can you hear us, Finn?
Yep.
But yeah, I was just talking about Crouchy. Like, he's been a great player, and we forget how quickly he became a really good player for us. Like, by his third year, he was a real unit for us in that midfield, and then he had his best year in 2017 where he was All Australian. And he's had issues since then in adjusting to how footy's played now, and obviously he's had injury issues with his hips and groins and stuff. That I don't think that can be understated how debilitating that's been. But he's been a loyal player for us, and I think he gets harshly judged. He's a bit like Matt Priddis, though he was a similar player, and until he won his Brownlee, no one really seemed to rate Matt Priddis. There's only once he's got his Brownlee, and even then he was sort of derided for winning it. And I think Crouch is sort of in the same boat. He's not a sexy player to watch, but he was a real just consistent, absolute ball magnet. Like, that's one thing that can't be taken from him. And I just hope I'm not sure what he's doing going forward, but I think we can all wish him the best and thanks heaps. He was part of that Phil Walsh post Phil Walsh era where we really got going and as a club, and it's been rough for him ever since. But he was a bit like Tex. He was able to revitalise his career to an extent, and I just think he's been great for us. So well done, Crouchy, on a fantastic career.
Mac, I remember when he came back into the side after a bit of a break in 2024, and for a couple of games he was kicking the ball forward and we were getting metres gained out of him, and it was like, oh, there's the Matt Crouch from 2015 to 2017, and I think he's been under injury stress for so long that we've actually forgotten what he was like when he was at his best. And it's such a shame for both those Crouch boys that they were genetically, hamstrung, pardon the pun, in terms of their careers. For both of those lads to be out of the game at 30, it speaks a lot towards the physical issues that they had. And I think both of them suffered because of injuries. They could have had much better careers had they not had those. So I'm with you, big man. I think we need to... Matt's been criticised. I think, again, I don't know whether it's Matt's been criticised. I think at times the selectors have been criticised for selecting Matt, just the same as we've criticised them for selecting someone like Lockie Murphy or D-Mac or someone like that because of his limitations.
Yeah.
But when Crouch was up and running, particularly earlier in his career, there was no better ball winner in the competition.
No, he broke the record for most touches in the season until Tom Mitchell beat it the following year. But
yeah,
like it's AFL's it's one thing to be a ball magnet, but it's another one just to do it every single week at AFL level like he did, and at a very young age too. Like he was doing it when he was in his early 20s. So he's someone that probably peaked early. I know he had a good year last year as well, but you can't teach the gifts that he had, and that was finding the footy because he was a freak at knowing where to be.
Well, I just think, as I said, I think if they didn't have lower body issues and leg issues and issues around obviously Brad had his OP for a long time and then hamstrings and God knows what else, and it looks like Matt's also had issues around that area for quite some time. Had they not had those issues and were able to continue to, build the power through their legs and drive their legs, then it might have been a different story for both of them. So, and Mac, I know you'd be on board with that, being a Matt Crouch fan.
Well, I've always been a Matt Crouch fan, and you and I have had some massive debates about it over the years, but particularly in recent years. But the one thing that I think we both always have agreed, he always gave 100% in terms of effort, and
no doubt
the result mightn't have been what we wanted, in the sense that, as Big Man said, he was brilliant at the right spot to get the ball. He just, he read the hands beautifully. But, if he'd been somebody blessed with the pace of Anderson or something like that, he would have been an outstanding player, but he wasn't. And injury sort of ground him down. But, I want to pay some respect to him because I think he always gave his all, whether that was what fitted at the time as we moved on and with different types of game plans. That wasn't always the case, but the one thing you could never say about Matt Crouch is that he didn't give 100% of effort on the ground, and he made every effort to get the ball. So I personally would like to thank him for what he's given to the club, and I just hope whatever he does in the future, it goes well for him.
Well, and,
Well said, Uncle.
he essentially took over from Scott Thompson as that inside ball, and I think as a foil for Danger and Sloan, etc., he was perfect, Brownie, in that role, and it only became an issue when we weren't getting much meterage out of him, and he was becoming it was becoming difficult for him to get the ball forward that we started to wonder what his worth was, I guess.
Absolutely. Like he was definitely a much better kick early in his career. He had more, obviously he just had the ability to move better. He was carried the ball a bit better, and then he just got to the point where obviously his injuries constrained him, and he was, taking 2 steps and then trying to give the quick handball or the short pass, and he probably got to a point where he just wasn't as valuable to the team in those last couple of years because he was just so restricted by his injuries. But if you think back to what he was like early in the piece, I mean, he's won a best and fairest, and I think All Australian that year, wasn't he?
Yeah,
And yeah, he was probably just a ball pig. He just got it for fun. We could do with someone on our list like that now, and that's I think what we're all hoping Sid Draper might become, and he still may become. But that's probably the kind of player we need, and obviously he's not there now. But he had a great career, and I think everyone will wish him the best. It's been great to watch. It's a bit of a shame the last couple of years the way he's gone downhill, but wish him all the best for the future.
And just to follow on that, Finn, so I was just going to say, like you see a very similar player like Tom Mitchell. He's sort of been phased out too around the same time, and so it's not really so much their fault, but it's just the nature of the game has sort of passed them by. And Mitchell and Crouchy are as big as ball magnets as you could ever want it in your midfield. It's just that the game sped up, and credit to Crouchy in a way, because as you sort of said, Finn, his game was sort of becoming a bit wasn't really helping us out in those early Knicks years. He was really becoming, and look, he might admit it, I don't know if he would or not, but it felt like he was becoming a bit of a stat chaser and getting handball receives and such, and going sideways and whatnot when we didn't really need it. But I thought, with that stint in the ASANFL he had, which was quite a long stint, he was able to change his game somewhat and get a bit more effective, become more of a clearance player, and help us out in other ways rather than just getting 40 touches a week. So he was able to adjust his game to a degree, but in the end, I think just the game's just unfortunately gone past those types of players, and they might make a comeback one day, but at the moment they just don't seem to be in vogue. And another thing about Crouchy is that a lot of our players were unfortunately well down in the grand final, but he was one of the few that actually played to his level. He was clean as a whistle. He did nothing wrong in that grand final. So he stood up when we needed it. So credit to him for that too.
Yeah, Richie Douglas was really down, almost at ground level for most of the game. I wouldn't say that Crouch was ever a stat patter as such. I think he was doing what his body allowed him to do. I think that's what it boils down to. And, again, it's not his fault that he was getting selected. You look at a situation now where we're falling behind a little bit in clearance. It wouldn't be bad to have a bloke who at least knew how to get his hands on the agate at clearance to deny first possession to the opposition. So I think it's what you were saying, Brownie, that we could certainly do with a bloke that hunts the ball and gets first possession, because we don't. Probably Peatling is the one. Berry a little bit, but certainly no one who intuitively does it like Matt did. So all credit to him. As you said, Macca, congratulations on his career, and hopefully he sticks around the club. He seems to love it in Adelaide, and seems to love the club. So you never know, he might bob up in a development role or something like that with Adelaide, which wouldn't be a bad thing. Thanks for segueing into that, big man. While I was temporarily muted, I blame Vardy Magic for that. He's obviously got some magic going, some voodoo going on to mute me when I say shit that he doesn't like. She doesn't like, because I still don't see his hand up in the chat. So, we'll just keep going regardless, Vardy, won't we? All right. Obviously, our big strength is up forward with the three-headed monster, and I think it's probably a good time to talk about Mr. Walker, who I've felt has spoken really well over the last week or so, not only about his own career, but where he sits in terms of the opportunity that he probably didn't think he'd get again. And, he's an entirely different player to what he was back in 2017. We don't need him to be a focal point, but I still think that this year he has proven, even though he hasn't kicked 60 goals, he's still proven that we're better with him in the side than without him, Brownie.
Oh, without doubt. He's more of an impact player now. He's only going to get 5 or 6 opportunities to do something in a game, and the important thing is that he actually does. He's been criticised previously by myself and a few other people for not really standing up in a lot of our finals. I think the role that he's playing this year, it gives him a perfect opportunity. A bit like, was it the Collingwood game where he kicked 2 goals in the last quarter, or was that Hawthorn?
Yeah,
Hawthorn.
Hawthorn.
That was Hawthorn. Yeah, Hawthorn. That's an example of what we need from him. We need, if he marks it within 50 in a final, he's just got to go back and kick the goal. None of this trying to pass off, trying to be, bring other players into the game. He's there to kick goals. If he gets 3 or 4 opportunities in a game, he's got to have a go. If he kicks 3 goals, 1 or 2 goals, 2, that's fine. But I just think he's got to take the responsibility. He's a leader at the club, and when he kicks goals, he just brings the whole team up and gets us going. So I just really hope that he can have the kind of impact this final series that I think he can. Because I think, if he can do his role, it's going to go a long way towards us having success. Yeah.
And Mac, again, he's been another one that we've debated about over the journey, and it looked like, back in post-COVID that he was done and he couldn't get his body right and he was having hip problems and foot problems and all the rest of it. But he looks as fit as he's ever been. He's never been the most agile bloke going around, and sometimes he's got a turning circle like the Queen Mary. But in terms of his physique, he's never looked in better shape, really. And his ability to get up the ground and to just force an opposition team to have to worry about him. You can't just let Tex go. If you let Tex go, he'll kick 5 on you. So you've got to put a decent defender on him, and I think that's his biggest value.
Well, he looks very, very free and easy at the moment, and there was an article in the paper that Dawson spoke to him and insisted, because he was complaining about his back all the time, and Dawson insisted that he go and do Pilates. And he did it begrudgingly, but once he did it, he found out that it did actually help his back, and now he said he wouldn't not do it. And
he's a devotee.
He's a devotee now. And the interesting thing is that, like, in recent games, I think he has moved very well. So I think Dawson was right onto something there. And but I think that this season, I think Walker, he may not be getting the same number of goals he has in the past, but the way he has played his position has been excellent. What he's virtually done, he's dragged away defenders that have had to mind him, and Phil Thorpe was the main man up forward. Fogarty's going in the other direction, so those three really play their position very well. And Walker's he's not the main man anymore, but he's a very, very serious part of that trio. And at times he'll be the one that they go to because his man's been more concentrating trying to help contain Phil Thorpe when Phil Thorpe was really on. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, Walker's playing well enough for me. I'd certainly give him a contract for next year as well. I think I'd have him again next year.
Look, and I think it's a credit to him. He had the ACL, what was that, 2014? 2013. And before that, he looked like he could have been anything. That game that I think it was the game he did his ACL. He was having a day out, and he looked like he was going to be, a generational full forward. And obviously being the size and the weight that he is, it's not easy to come back from one of those injuries and to the same degree. And for him to be able to forge a career and, reinvent himself to a degree, he's never been a strong overhead marking forward, although he can do it at times. But his ability to lead up and as I said, stretch a defence and big man, I can't remember the last time we had a forward setup that worked so well together, because you very rarely now see Fogg, Tex and Thilthorpe going at the same ball, whereas that probably wouldn't have been the case even 2 years ago. So is it Humps that's got the forwards, or who's got the forwards at the moment?
Scotty Burns.
Burns got the forwards. He's done a really good job with them. Because the way they set up at the moment is probably the best I've seen a Crows forward line set up for a long, long time.
Yeah, it's a good point, Fiend. And when they do, when we do see two of them go up for the same ball, it's actually a surprise now. It's like, we don't usually do that. So they got a good thing going there. They clearly, it helps that they've played a fair bit of footy now, even like obviously Filthy's still relatively new, but Fogg and Tex have played a lot of footy together now, and they've sort of figured out what their strengths and weaknesses are. Not that Filthy has many, and they play different roles. And sometimes Tex plays up the field. Sometimes it's Fogg that's playing up the field, and the other plays deeper. And that's even within games. It'd be hard to sort of know who's going to be where. And I'm sure it's one of the real issues that opposition teams have coming into players, because it's not just about the individual itself. It's about the way in which we use them and they use each other. And Tex, look. He is not the greatest athlete in the world, but you put a foot in his hands and it was like he was meant to be. He's about as smart as in terms of his football smarts, he's about as smart as any key forward I think we've seen. And that's saying something, because obviously there have been some gun key forwards, but some of those were in a different area where they're stronger or quicker or taller, and Tex is probably the smartest footballer we've had since Jarman, isn't he? Him and McLeod, so he's in rare air, and he does
not only
things
smart but skilled as well. He's probably the best wrong-sided kick we've had since DJ. For a bloke his size, it's amazing.
I think it goes hand in hand though, Finn. His ability to know where to go. He's such a natural forward, and his vision and his decision making. Yeah, he can make the odd mistake, but the best players did. Blighty could make a terrible mistake, but I'd never call him a dumb footballer. It's like he just has that, he's a football genius in a way, and geniuses sometimes do strange things, and Texas, it also does that, but most of the time it comes off and he just does things that other players don't think of. And even at his age, he's still kicking, checkies and dancing around opponents, which is just things he shouldn't do at 35 and his size. So I agree with Macri. I think it's almost certain he's going to get another year unless he doesn't want to go on. It probably exposes that we don't really have another great sort of mid to key forward coming through to sort of take the mantle. I know Fogg's obviously got a lot of footy ahead of him. We know Thilthorpe's a gun, but going forward, I think that sort of mid to tallish player would be someone, Gunston type would be someone we need to keep looking at either via the draft or maybe
Braden Cook
trade. Or that's. Well, geez, if Cookie looked like Tex today, I'm not going to lie.
Sixth in a final.
Tex would have been happy with that one when he was playing back at Norwood. But
100%.
Yeah, that was I think that's probably something we need to address, because at the end of the day, we don't have anyone who's as good as Tex coming through. I think we learned two things this year. Yeah, one, Tex is still good, and he deserves another year, and number two is that we probably need to invest in this area going forward, because he's near the end, unfortunately, but he's still good, and he's still causing headaches, and I'm just glad he's playing the kind of footy that he is.
I'm with the inimitable they them Vardy Magic on chat. When he says some players are irreplaceable, you need to restructure rather than compensate, and I agree. I don't think it should be a quest, Brownie, for finding the next Tex. I just think it needs to be consideration of how we set up post-Tex. It likely won't be the same unless someone like a Tyler Welsh comes on or something like that. I think it's like the Australian cricket team trying to replace Shane Warne. You're not going to do it.
Yeah, correct. And you're not going to find, it's unlikely we'll find a big-bodied, highly skilled forward to replace him. I think that's why maybe they're looking at Archie as just that maybe a slightly different body type with some different attributes that could slot into the forward line, and that or a Gunston sort of type, slightly smaller, but mobile, and just deadly around goals. I think like a Peter Vardy type would be, that kind of thing would be great. But we've got I don't think we're going to find one from within. So I think we've got to either trade or hopefully we get one in the draft. But I think if you get one in the draft, it's a 2 or 3 year process probably to get them where they need to be. Does anyone think that?
Sorry, go on,
anyone
mate.
think that Cook has actually got the potential to go to that next level?
Oh, definitely. Definitely got the potential. He's got all the tricks. And he was I remember when in Braden's draft year where I was working, was the same year that Horn Francis got drafted, I think, wasn't it? Or it might have been the year before, I can't remember. But I was working with someone and she was going out with a mate of Braden's, and she was telling me that, I think, Macca, you and I had this discussion back then, that Braden was pretty late to the scene in terms of footy and kind of came out of nowhere. But South rated him really highly in his draft year in terms of his natural ability and his mercurial sort of skills. And I think the test for Cook, this is just my personal opinion, the test for Cook is I think the Crows have got to find a role for him and stick with it. And it could well be as a third forward. He's obviously got goal sense. I mean, he was bloody magic around the goals today. He's a good ball handler. He's got good agility. So maybe he is that third forward. But I think the Crows have got to settle on a role for him. And then he's got to put his head down and make every post a winner, because he's certainly got the natural ability, in my opinion.
Well, his last AFL game was a terrible game, a shocker.
Yeah, but it's only one. Before that, he had a couple of good ones.
Yeah, I was going to go on to say that.
Sorry.
Having said that, he has shown us in other games that he's got the ability. In fact, I can't remember which game it was, but there's one game he was quite outstanding and really, really looked really good. And it is, and somebody like him is a type of player that you've got to find a spot for him, because I thought today, he just showed that he was so far above the others in SANFL level that it's not funny. I mean, he was doing virtually what he liked. So you just can't waste a bloke like he's got that talent. What you have to do is work out where did he belong, and somebody said in the chat that his last game he was also coming back after concussion, and that's a good point too. That may be the reason, but he did play an absolute stinker, and he did pay the penalty for it. But having said that, I think he's too classy to just disregard. And look, whether it's a wing, whether it's a half forward flank, and whether even having a little run on the ball, because he looked like he was on the ball at times the other day. So. I thought he looked, as I said, he was head and shoulders above the rest of them. So, we just got to work out where he belongs, and I certainly wouldn't be throwing him away. That's for sure.
Yeah, I reckon he's a natural winger, but he's got to get enough of it on the wing to justify that. That's where I would play him personally. I think he's a natural winger.
Well, he's got to get self-belief, I think. He's certainly got the self-belief at SANFL level. If he made the same moves at AFL level, he could probably play it as well. And perhaps, he might struggle with a little bit of self-belief when he's playing at that level, but they've just got to build the lad up, because I think he's got the class to do it.
I also wonder, big man, whether the switch of Nankervis to the forward line and the twos this year is an indication that maybe the club have been thinking about that role for Nankervis as a third tall. He's quite mercurial as well, but I must admit I've been a little bit disappointed with him this year, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it hasn't quite come together for him in the second half of the year. I think he's probably down on confidence a little bit. he's still winning. Like the great thing about Nank is that he can win his own ball, and whether it's in the air or on the deck, I actually think he's got the makings of a potential midfielder because he's actually quite good in traffic.
No, he's not. He's not. Sorry, I'm disagreeing with you a bit tonight, big man, and I don't mean to be argumentative, but I saw him today do what he's been doing all season, which is turn back into traffic. The amount of times he turns back into traffic, he seems to have lost his instinct to get clear, and he keeps selling himself into trouble. He did it again today a few times.
I think he looks at traffic as like a challenge for him though, because he's so quick on his feet. I think he likes to try and get around opponents and create his own space. A bit like Connor Rosé does, although Rosé's even better, is obviously better at that. I actually
Nank's losing the challenge. That's a problem.
Well, he is, but I think that's just the game isn't coming together for him at the moment, and his decision making's down. Like he's kicking to players that have someone sweating on them. He's kicking out in the full. He's it's just not quite happening. He's probably frustrated with his footy. He's not doing a whole lot wrong before he gets the ball, and when it's when he gets it and what he does afterwards. That's the issue at the moment. I'm sure that's the reason he's not in the team, because he's got all the attributes of a good player. Like as I said, he can win his own ball. He's great in the air. He tackles. He's got speed. He's got great agility. He looks too good at times for the SANFL level. It's just that he's just making bad mistakes, and he even made them at training the other day. I was watching him, and he had a couple of times he turned it over out of defence, and I was like, oh boy, that's not going to help you get back in the team. So. Yeah, I think
feel
he
like he's just become a bit.
Restart.
I feel like he's become a bit predictable with his movement with the ball. He tends to turn to the left quite often in traffic. You almost know what he's going to do. He's always looking to wrong foot the opposition, but in doing so, he's running straight into where the traffic is, and he turns that way all the time.
I think he's still figuring his game out. He's another one that was sort of late to playing footy.
Oh yeah.
So, look, he's only 22. I think this year is just the write-off almost for him, and restart again. I think he's shown enough at AFL level to suggest that he's going to make it. It's been a shit year for him. Let's just be honest.
Is he contracted?
He's contracted for another. I want to say another year or two. I think it's probably just another year.
Yeah.
He's had a contract earlier than his house, than Rochelle and Saligo. I know that. So it's either it's next year or the year after. So and hopefully he does, because we don't want him to become frustrated and think that he'll be better off somewhere else, because I think he's got too much to offer us. And look, Cook's the same. He's out of contract next year, and he's going to have to find a way to get in the front of mind of the selectors starting round one next year with a big preseason, because it's last chance saloon for him. And he's another one that I think we all agree he's got the talent in a different way to Nank. He's a bit different, but yeah, I really hope these guys make it, because they've got a bit of class and a bit of extra X factor that we don't have too much of in our list.
Well, speaking of contracts, we're bringing an uncontracted player into the final series in Zach Taylor. We have a habit of doing
Bond
that.
as well.
I find it strange that two blokes who have become part of our best 23, Brownie, are uncontracted. Like, is that because we haven't put something in front of them, or because they're balking and maybe looking to go home?
That's probably a better question for Big Man, given he got the lowdown on it. But it is unusual. If they're in our best 23, you think that we would have, signed them up at least halfway through the year. So yeah, I've got no idea. Big Man, do you have any sort of background on that?
Funny, isn't it, how we talk about how Naz wasn't re-signing, so he must be gone, and he re-signed with the game to go, and we're still waiting on Bond and
I think Naz had a bit more leverage though.
Taylor no, he did. I'm just saying, are we maybe we should be panicking about these guys? I won't lie, I've got a bit of a worry, because I think Taylor especially, he's someone that was in quite a few teams' minds at the draft where he was picked, and we were able to get him. I think there's a few clubs that weren't in that level of that stage of the draft that would have liked to have him. And so if they kept their eyes on him, they still like what he's offering, then I think he's someone that could be offered a better midfield role than we're offering at the moment. That could turn his head. So that's always a worry. And
what I
Bond's
worry
an
about
interesting
with
one.
sorry, just before we move on to Bond, what I worry about with Taylor, and I know you've got a bloke called Hugh Direction whenever we talk about Zach Taylor, but is he a bit of a lucky shoal?
Nah, he's got more intensity than Sholey. And look, Sholey's had a shocking year, let's be honest. And as soon as he got that knee injury in pre-season, just before the game started, it's been downhill ever since. So unfortunately, he's had a terrible year after a pretty good year last year. But one thing about Sholey is I don't think we've ever really trusted him in the high-intensity games because he's just a bit weak around the ball. He doesn't have the body strength and intensity to sort of make up for it. But Taylor, no, he's a bit. He's got a bit of shit in him, and I'm not worried about that side of it. Even though he's not the biggest bloke, he's got to build his body. But I don't think it's a competitiveness issue whereas Shoal, I think it is.
I think I'm going to call you Hugh from now
on. But yeah, the thing with Bondi is that that's a weird one because Bondi only wanted to sign a 1-year contract last year. I'm assuming it was on his end. He got a few run of games at the end of the season, so
he did.
And then
he did.
He wanted, like, I can't imagine, but it's no, sorry, I should say no. Hang on, let me clarify. I think we must have only offered him the 1 year because which kind of player is going to at his stage of his career is going to only ask for a year? Like, there's no security.
But it was very
there.
strange just to give him a year. Like, we'd obviously
brought
him into the side, considering some of the contracts that have been thrown around, it was actually quite odd that we only gave him a year. We got no other player like you in the list. Yeah, exactly.
Borlai's got 2 years, and Butsy, who wasn't really in the team at the time, got 3 years. And meanwhile, Bond, who, as you said, finished off the season in the team, got the solitary year. We did a similar thing a couple of years ago with Lockie Gallant. I think Gallant got a couple of games that year, and then we only offered him one. And in the end, he obviously didn't make it. Maybe we still have reservations about Bondi. I'm not sure, but I think at the stage, like, it's pretty clear that he's improved his game significantly and that he's got something to offer going forward. So I really hope we tidied that one up because there are some whispers that the likes of the Bulldogs and such are having a look at him. But we don't know if that's true or not, but it could be.
Well, I think any defender at the moment's on the Bulldogs' radar. I worry a bit about Geordie Butts in that regard. I know he's contracted.
He's another one.
I worry
let's talk about him and the Bulldogs too. Yeah, well, I mean, at least he's contracted, so we'll obviously get some pretty good value for him. Hopefully, I don't want to lose him though. But yeah, those two, it is strange. And then you got Tex as well, and I think it's those three. Is there another one? I have to think about it, but that's a lot of players, isn't it? To especially those two to have a contract. So it is strange. It is questionable because I think Zach's had a pretty good run at it this year. In the end, he was a bit in and out in the first half of the year, but he's had a pretty clean slate in the back half of the year. So hopefully they're just haggling over some details or whatnot. But you always worry because at the start of the year, he was talking about how he wanted to see how his year went. That's never a good sign. So from an interstate player. So yeah, I'm not sold that he's going to stay, but I hope he does because, you know, I've got a bit of a soft spot for him, Fiend, as you know.
I don't think there's a soft spot there to any degree. To any degree. I think he's your Viagra, mate. When you and the missus have had a long night and maybe you're a bit tired and worn down, I think she just puts a Zach Taylor highlights video on and you're good to go. You're good to go.
Just load up Vardy Magic's Twitter and just scroll down to Zach Taylor and I'm good to go, mate.
Oh, God. Anyway. All right. So, look, I think we've covered it all. We've spoken a bit about defence in general, but I think obviously our main strength this season, apart from our ability to kick goals, is also our ability to hold the opposition up. And we've got, we've got the three-headed monster down back, up forward, but we've also got the three-headed monster down back with Murray, Keane, and Worrell. Now, as we mentioned, ably supported by Mike Lanny. coming back in as well. We may as well get along to talking about what we think might be the outcome. I struggle to see Collingwood kicking a winning score against us, to be perfectly honest. I don't think we're going to allow the same amount of inside 50s as we did against them a couple of weeks ago. And for all the service that they got, their inside 50s weren't quality inside 50s. My check was pretty quiet. Elliott got a little bit of it. They didn't really have a spearhead to go to, and I feel like we've got them covered defensively. I think the issue will be we need to break even in terms of possession count and in terms of ball in our half of the ground. Brownie, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think that's probably the key area. We've just got to restrict their number of forward 50 entries, and that's by getting our hands on the ball more. But I think that the thing that does worry me a bit is the last 4 weeks. It seems like teams have been that they've had a definite strategy just to put massive pressure on us. And like when you look at the West Coast game and the North Melbourne game, they're teams that are well and truly below us from a talent point of view, but they maintain that pressure for the whole game, and we only just fell across the line. And if you look at the Collingwood and Hawthorn first quarters, again, that was just massive pressure that we didn't handle. And sure, we bounced back in the second quarter and we righted the ship, but it just worries me that we're not handling the pressure and we're dump kicking and we're panicking a bit. So I just hope, like generally finals are, amped up to another level of pressure. So I'm just hoping that that's something that we can handle, because I think that's really been the difference in the last few weeks. If you look at the Port Adelaide game, the Gold Coast game, it was us that was putting massive pressure on, and we were dominating as a result. And I think we've got to get back to that.
See, I think this is where the inclusion of Michael Annie really helps us, because the like Collingwood and Hawthorn both defended very high when they were when the ball was going into their front half. Their defend, like Darcy Moore and all that, were playing really high, and I think
that's correct.
The answer to subverting that pressure is running the ball out of defence and getting it over the back of them. And I think that's what we weren't able to do against Collingwood in round 23. We didn't really have that bounce off half back. We were hat kicking straight back into their hands, and they would repeat entering. But I think with Laird in the side, Michael Annie back in the side, Wayne Miller, and to a lesser degree Mitch Hinge, I think we really need those blokes to break lines, and we could probably do with a little bit of a lift from Dan Curtin, who's been a little quiet over the last 2 or 3 weeks. He went, like, his ability to mark the ball in that little stretch of that little purple patch that he had was such a benefit to us on transition. And I feel like teams have been working on him and making sure that he can't get position, and like they've been bumping him and like blocking him and all that sort of stuff. And I think we need to make use of Curtin and Isaac Cumming. Isaac Cumming has been caught a little deep at times as well. I think he doesn't need to get too sucked in down back. We need him to be the go-to coming out of defence rather than the bloke kicking in out of defence. So I think, I honestly think that we kept our powder fairly dry against Collingwood, and I think I'd be surprised if the instruction to our team coming out of defence is not to run at them and to try and get over their zone and force them to defend more deep than they would prefer. That's my impression.
Yeah, well, just in going through all the things that have been said so far, but I think Brownie's right in the sense that we had in both of the last 2 minor round games, in fact, really the 3, we just haven't been at the level of pressure right from the word go, and that's going to be one of the key factors to the game. I mean, we gave Collingwood a start and eventually beat them. If we can start off even with them and keep it that way, then it makes it so much easier to win. And so I think the start's going to be crucial. They've got to be keyed up. The other thing with Curtin, one of the reasons I've noticed his form dropping off a little bit is he somehow seems to get caught on the dead wing in the last couple of games. And I think that if that happens, just swap the bloody wings around just to keep the boy into the game because he is good enough to beat anybody when he's standing at the moment because his confidence is sky high. So
we do switch wings though. I've noticed that the way we play our wings, we generally rotate 3 through the 2 spots, and the bloke that I watched this earlier in the season. I don't know whether it's still the case, but certainly earlier in the season, the bloke that came on would always go to the far wing, and then he'd rotate to the front wing, to the closer wing, and then he'd come off, and like it'd rotate that way. So, I honestly think that teams just stood up and thought, oh well, he's a bloke we're going to have to bloody put some work into him because he's a young lad. Like put a bit of work into him, and it's going to make it difficult for him.
Yeah. So, well, look, I think he'll play a good game. I think I think his efforts are there, and I just think just if he can just be at the fall of the ball a lot more, or in a situation of taking those overhead marks a lot more. A lot of times he wasn't in the contest of the way the game played. But I think we'll win or lose it. We'll win or lose it in the sense that not that we actually dominate the centre, because I don't think we're capable of doing that. But if we can negate them to the point that they've only got a minor margin, and also not allowing Pendlebury to just pick it off like cherries and just neatly pass it off to somebody. And I think he's somebody that I would actually make sure that he doesn't get it easy. So. I think we can certainly win the game, Pete. I think we've improved. The side's been improved by the inclusions. It's down by the loss of Rankin. I have to accept that. But by the same token, the players we bring in, they're good players. So I think it's just a lot more evenness, put that way. Will be our strength right across the ground will be a lot more even. And Michael Annie, then he gives us that option to make it into wherever there is a weakness that he can actually improve that situation. So I'm confident we can beat them, but I would think that Brownie's point about the pressure right at the beginning of the game, we've just got to get it going from day one. And your point is also very valid. We mustn't get caught in that situation where we're on the last line of defence and we're kicking it back towards the wing, and they come right up. The defence is pressing up on us, and we've got a situation come flying back again. You can't allow a team to have that many 50s again, because they'll get us the second time round. So we just your point's very valid. We've got to look at different ways of bringing the ball out.
Yeah.
Fiend, so I was just going to say, because Brownie brought up like how West Coast and North brought the pressure against us. They took it up to us and stuff. It is curious though, like, if you look at the last 6 games we've played, those 2 games stand out in terms of our running being down. Both games we've actually had quite a negative differential against those 2 teams. So is there a relation there in terms of our attitude towards those games compared to like the Showdown and the Collingwood and Hawthorn games, where our running was a lot higher and such? Do you think that's a factor in it, that our boys just didn't quite take those games as seriously?
Oh, look, I mean, it's hard to say, isn't it? Because you're not in their heads. I've Robsy in the Discord chat raised a point as well that I would probably subscribe to, that there might be some truth to, as we discussed the other day, just maybe ramping up the training loads over the last month, and maybe that combined with a little bit of a mental, like once we knew we were going to make the finals and then knew we were going to be top 4, combined with a heavier training load, maybe that was the impact. I'd be surprised if someone like Darren Burgess didn't have a plan to get us cherry right for finals. So, it would almost shock me if there wasn't, whether that involves ramping up training loads or what, who knows, whether that's still the accepted technique or not. But I'd imagine there'd be something in it. I think time will tell whether we have just tapered off and we were only just going, or whether we were just sort of getting like Matthew Nix, I think a couple of weeks ago said it had been a bit of a grind for the group once they had sewn up a final spot. So maybe mentally it was hard to keep switched on because we were on a big run, like 12 wins or something out of 13 games or something. You know, it's quite a run and quite a long time to stay up, and we've been lucky that in games that we haven't been up, we've still managed to get over the line. So,
yeah,
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's just if you look at the stats, it's those are the two exceptions. Those two games against North and West Coast, their running was well down. So you know, I think we say like, oh, those teams brought the pressure, but it looks like we just didn't bring the intensity or the normal effort that we normally do. And I'm curious as to why that would be. I guess it's taking opposition lightly. Maybe those are weeks that we ramped up training because we didn't have to prepare as much for a lesser team. There could be a range of reasons. It gives me some hope though that the boys are going to turn up on Thursday night and really be just ready to go because they haven't really played. I know they had that Collingwood game, but in terms of the two of the last three games, it's been their least amount of kilometres covered and such. So I think that plus the week off, I think they're going to be raring to go, hopefully. Yeah,
I think, we haven't had a huge squad rotation in the last 8 weeks. We've had a couple in and out on the peripherals, Mac, but we haven't had we've probably been picking out of a pool of about 26, 27 players. So it's probably fair to say that some of the older blokes and a lot of the midfield are maybe carrying a knock and a niggle and all that sort of stuff. So you'd expect that the break was they're probably gagging for it by then.
Yeah, what have we had? It's been about a 12-day break. Is that right? About 12, 11 day, 12. Yeah. So it's a good sized break, and as you say, it's just going to be give them that opportunity if they have that little niggle, just get over that. And the other thing too is that once we sort of had made sure that we were going to be in the finals, and then we made sure that we were going to be in the four, I think our intensity definitely dropped off. I mean, I can remember in the North Melbourne game, I couldn't believe it. They were running at about 200 and something, and we were running about 170. And we never got over it for the whole game. We just never got over it. They just couldn't get themselves up any more than that. But now we're playing finals, and they've been freshened. I reckon Burgess probably has had them a little bit more pounding just to get them right. And I think they'll come out fresh and they'll come out keen. And look, if we don't want a disaster start like last time, we just want that even start. And I think that they'll come out really hard. Rob's got to start off good. He's actually got to at least get the ball in our direction, not their direction, if he does get the tap. And I think if we can sort of break even in the middle, I think we can win the game, and not by a lot, but maybe 11 points.
Yeah, I think one bloke that we probably should mention before we roll the credits, Brownie, is Alex Neil-Bullen, who plays his 200th this week. It's kind of been lost in dispatches a little bit. But I think, as much as we've been a bit up and down about his on-field contributions during the course of the season, he's had some good games, he's had some quieter games. When you get administration blokes quoting a guy and what he says around the club with regards to we haven't achieved anything yet, that's become a bit of a mantra for the finals, I think. There's absolutely no doubt that he's had a massive influence on the club since he's come in. And, 200 games by any stretch of the imagination is a fantastic achievement. And I think his experience is going to, in the club rooms, is going to be a major benefit for us because we're coming up against a finals hardened side in Collingwood.
Yeah, absolutely. You've only got to hear all of the players talk about him just to see the sort of level of respect they've got for him. And as much as his footballs might have been a bit in and out, I think he's slowly, he's improved his level in the last half of the year. But it's the little things. It's his marshalling the troops on the ground, his positivity, and that kind of thing. So I'm sort of hoping he's coming up playing his 200th on the same day that Tex plays his 300th, so it's going to get overshadowed a bit, I think. But I think the players internally are going to, they're going to make something of it. We've got a fair bit to play for this week with a guy new to the club who was highly respected playing 200, and then a legend of the club playing his 300th. You'd like to think that that's going to get us up and firing. So let's just hope it does.
So how are they going to do it? They're going to have a massive banner for Tex and then a little one on the side for A and B. Like a little doggy door in Tex's thing that Alex can just run through.
Nothing wrong with your imagination, thing.
He's a bit stiff nibbler, isn't he? Like he spends most of his time in Melbourne. He's got 200th is a great achievement for a pick 40 odd that he was in that 2014 draft, and poor Tex. Poor him, because Tex is 300th, which has been built up for a while now. Like, how many times have we talked about it? Tex getting to 300, and it's finally happening. So poor Nibbler has to sort of just hide in the corner a bit, unfortunately. But like, it is a great achievement, and if you look at his stats, like I know he's had some games where we're like, he's a bit off the pace. He goes to ground too much. He gets caught a bit, and those things are true. But at the same time, statistically, he rates above average or elite in majority of categories for a general forward. So he's obviously doing a lot right, and we've seen him play some great games this year. And I think he's just so steady with the ball, and he's not great on what we had previously. So, well done to him. Like 200 games, and he's won a flag. Hopefully, he gets another one with us.
Credit to him, and just back on Tex for a second. We've said all through, it shouldn't matter. The club shouldn't be trying to get him through to 300 and blah, 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 blah. But I honestly think that him playing his 300th and the crowd appreciation that he's going to get at the beginning of the game is going to be a real source of motivation to stop what you were alluding to, Brownie, with regards to that early game lack of pressure, because the crowd is going to be going batshit crazy at the beginning. They're acknowledging Tex and all the rest of it, and I think that's going to be a real bonus for us, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and not just acknowledging Tex, but there's just going to be that massive backlash against the whole Rankin thing. The crowd are going to be bloody fiery about that, and I think they're going to be fiery the whole game. So I'm bloody looking forward to it. It's going to be unbelievable.
Don't you get suspended?
Hey?
We need you on the next cast. So don't get suspended by the AFL for throwing slurs from the crowd or bananas.
No, I don't use the F word.
No, but you're a Port supporter, so you're throwing bananas. Isn't that what you do?
I'm more worried about big man running out on the oval and wanting to cuddle to Taylor.
Yeah, I worry about big man, full stop. But that's another story. All right, so let's get down to 10 tacks. Macca, you've already declared us a winner by 11 points. Is that right?
Yep.
Pretty confident. Large human.
See, this is the thing now. Every time I tip against us, we win. So I almost feel compelled to tip against us, but I'm actually going to tip us. There's such a groundswell of emotion, and for this game, there's so much build up. The only thing I worry about is whether it's too much, and like the boys, it becomes too big a thing, because Collingwood have been there and we haven't. But there's a lot of reasons for us to want to win this game, so I'll back us in this time. This group's earned my trust, I think, at this point.
Margin?
They're always close, aren't they? 10 points.
Yeah. Brownie, I reckon one of the things that we can say about this group is that, and you touched on it, big man, I don't think they're going to get freaked out, to be honest with you. I think there's a steal within the side, and some of it comes from our captain, Dawson. You got blokes like A and B that we've spoken about. I think you got blokes like Tex now, who's obviously extremely experienced, etc., led, all that. I think this side is a lot more trustworthy. I at no stage do I think, well, we haven't been blown out of the water at all this year, really. So, I mean, that inspires a bit of confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm certainly, even when they do get behind, you've got a level of confidence that they're gonna come again.
Never out of it, yep.
As much as I'd I don't want to have that slow start. I don't want to be 5 or 6 goals down a quarter time like we were against Hawthorn and Collingwood. But yeah, you do have the more trust this year, I think, that they're just going to go through that process and they're going to get it right at some point. Having said that, I'm a little nervous about this week. I'm just with Collingwood's experience, I think we should win it, but I'm probably going to go by maybe 6 points. I think it'll be a close one.
Well, I did give you fair warning, Brownie, but I'm extremely bullish about this game. I feel like we've got far more firepower than Collingwood. I think our ins are important despite Rankin not being available. I think the run-off halfback that we're going to get from Michael Annie is going to be key. And I think we're going to win going away. I can see us winning by 6 goals.
Bloody hell.
Fiend, 2017, right? Prior to that, we beat Geelong in the home and away season later in that season at home. I think that was the game where like Selwood gouged bloody Rolly Knight's eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was our first win against Geelong, home and away, and since I think that the Andy Otten game in 2013.
Yeah.
So it's been a fair bit between drinks.
And then
we played in the prelim.
It was the best game I've ever seen the Crows play ever.
Yeah. So look, that first game was a tight tussle, and we got over got them over in the last quarter. But then the second time we played was almost like a release. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Because we'd already got that monkey off the back prior. I just wonder if potentially that could be the case this week, and that might be what you're thinking.
I feel it was a massive mental hurdle to get over. In fact, I feel like there was probably the last 3 games where we probably should have beaten them, and it was just that mental edge that they had over us, and that whole aura of Collingwood always come from behind and win a close one. They had that real mystique about them. So I think there's something in that, big man, for sure. I just think on paper we're a better side. I think the last 4 weeks that we've tailed off a little bit, I think people have forgotten how good we are. Like we've dismantled sides this season, and we've beaten sides better than Collingwood. To me, Collingwood are just going. They've got some stars that can cut you up, but across the field, I don't think they are as good as us. And I'm very confident. I'd be surprised if they get within 6 goals of us. I really am. I will be. I'm not just being. I'm not. That's my honest opinion.
That's fair. It could happen.
I'd love you to be right, mate.
All right, just to finish off, we should really touch on the All-Australians and congratulate Jordan Dawson, the All-Australian captain, and Riley Thilthorpe for making it, and throw some massive brickbats at whoever was the bright spark that thought it was a good idea to give Jeremy Cameron the captaincy. Even he was, befuddled by it. And whoever thought Josh Battle deserved a spot ahead of Josh Worrell needs to be punched in the face.
I'll tell you what, mate, that Cameron as captain is insanity, and look, they would want to be regarded as what do you call it? An esteemed competition. Well, when you make idiotic selections like that, you're making a statement that we're fucking idiots. That's what that statement is. I mean, to appoint Cameron as captain says they are idiots, and it's an absolute disgrace. I mean, Cameron was befuddled by it. He couldn't work out why he was chosen because he said, "I've never ever captain anything." So, What idiot would think of that? They made a mockery of that particular position. Then the clubs they did the vote. Of course, they come up with Dawson as the best captain. He's the vice captain of the All-Australian team, and logically should have been the captain of it. And so that part of it is just idiotic. And Battle versus Worrell, on Worrell's form this year, they should have a look at the tapes and just.
It's not even close.
I watched every game. No, Battle's a good, solid backman. Worrell has been an outstanding backman in terms of desperation Battle has done all the things you'd ask a backman to do, but Worrell's done more than that. His desperation takes him to another level, and he definitely should have got in ahead of Battle. No question about that. And that's not putting Battle down, by the way.
Oh no, of course not. I mean, I mentioned Brownie that they contradicted themselves because in the highlights package for Dawson, they were saying how valuable his captaincy was and how he'd played like a leader all season, and his leadership and his taking the game by the scruff of the neck at times. You know, they highlighted the Hawthorn game and a couple of other games there. So they acknowledged that he was by far the most influential captain in the bloody competition, and then they give it to a full forward who's never captained anything in his life.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder why they don't have some parameters. Like, they basically have made a tokenistic sort of captaincy to Jeremy Cameron, who has never captained. I don't think he's even held a leadership role in any of the clubs that he's played at. Hasn't been in the leadership group.
No, that's right.
So when you've got 4 or 5 captains, 2 that I think are exceptional in Dawson and Bontempelli, and either one had one that you wouldn't have argued because they're both exceptional leaders on the field and off the field. But to have actually nominate a captain of an All-Australian team and then not to pick the best captain seems insane. Like, there needs to be more explanation as to why it's happened, because I don't know whether it's a Kane Corns bloody mad idea and they all just bloody ran with it.
Well, there's bloody 7 of them on the bloody thing.
It's ridiculous.
The other thing, and a lot of people in the chat saying, it's Vic Vice and all the rest of it. I don't subscribe to that. I think big man, I just think they outsmarted themselves, because not only have you got the 2 that impacted our guys, but you've also got the odds-on favourite Brownlow medalist can't even get a run in the starting 18. He's sitting on the bench. And as you pointed out, Brownie, bloody Max Holmes, who's absolute standout year, doesn't even get a look in.
Yeah. Yeah. And he should have been in the first 2 midfielders picked.
It was so bizarre thing. It just seemed like there was just one after the other strange decisions happening.
Oh, mate.
Like, they couldn't even spell courageous right in the most courageous player award on the video beforehand. They misspelled that. That's a good start. It's funny how you got Dacos voted best player by the AFLPA, was it? I think.
Yeah.
And he's on the just makes the bench, and he's probably going to win the Brownlow. So well done there. Jordan Dawson voted best captain. Only gets the vice captain. You also got Max Gawn, Bontempelli, and Noah Anderson, all who are very worth vice captaincies, including especially Gawn and Bont.
Yeah.
Do you give it to Jeremy Cameron instead? They got Battle back there, who I don't think anyone everyone does their all Australians, right, in the media and such, and you see a lot of familiar names. I don't think I saw Josh Battle once in that team.
No, you didn't. You wouldn't have.
I didn't even know he was in the frigging squad.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And Luke Kane had his reasons. They were just complete bullshit. Of course he did. Yeah. Something about defending players better than Worrell did, or something. Well, what's Harris Andrews and Sam Taylor there for, mate? What I mean?
Exactly.
Worrell's the leading intercept player in the comp. Yeah. That's what he's there for. And don't give me this whole hypothetical team anyway, because you got bloody 4 midfielders on the bench.
Yeah, so exactly.
It's all just a joke. I'm guessing it's just people just listen to Kane's opinion because he's one of the few people that watch us each week in the media because he's obsessed with us, and they probably think, Kane said it, so I'm going to.
But hang on, Pavlik's on there, Buckley's on there. I mean, it's not as if he's the only bloke with a football brain on there. And I think Corns, to be honest,
as much as Corns does, as of us.
I think Corns. Well, I think Buckley does. I think Corns, to be honest, would have voted for Worrell. He's been a massive G for Worrell this season. So from hearing his, he certainly tried to make justifications for Battle, but he has also been a massive fan of Worrell. So I don't know. As I said, I just think they freaking outsmarted themselves. But I really liked the Adelaide Football Club's Twitter putting out that image of Thilthorpe and Dawson and then Worrell superimposed in there, photoshopped in there. It's fantastic.
Did they actually get Phil Thorpe to stick an arm out, or did they just Photoshop one of their arms and just attach
I don't know. I think they chopped his arm in half. I think they chopped his arm in half and then repositioned it. It was good quality though. It was almost GWS Socials quality because GWS's Socials team deserves some sort of kudos as well.
They're very good.
All right. Well, I reckon we're done.
And also, just quickly,
we're not done because
I've always got more to say, mate.
Yeah.
No, congrats to Filthy because, 22-year-old. Well, he's 23 now, but he's 22 for the majority of the season.
Yeah.
To do what he did, it's so exciting. He's just such a fantastic player, and I don't think this will be his first. I don't think that this will be his last All-Australian jumper.
Well, let's hope not, because it was good to see him get picked ahead of Darcy. Darcy had strong claims, no doubt. But, they could stick 37 midfielders in there, but they couldn't find a spot for more than 3 bloody forwards. So, Well,
that's the thing, Finn. I actually thought Thorpe was the least likely of the 3 to get in.
I
thought was almost a lock.
I must admit, I thought that if Riley was going to get in, he'd be on the bench. So, and if they'd picked a team properly, they would have had an extra defender and an extra forward on the bench and a couple of mids. That's how they usually pick it. So, anyway, such is life. Well, it looks like we're all systems go for Thursday night. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight on the chat and on YouTube. It's been a good night, lots of good discussion. It's fantastic, don't you reckon, gentlemen, to be back in the big league and being a factor again. And I look forward to us flying under the radar because everyone's jumped off us, even though we're a game clear at top after the minor round. And I hope we kick some ass. So, gentlemen, welcome to welcome to the first final series for Crowcast since 2017, and only. I think it's the third one we've covered in the frickin' 11 years that we've been doing it, Mac.
I was just going to say, you and I covered some shit then in that period. Crikey.
Yeah, no, it's been great.
It's a long time in between drinks, mate.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Thanks for everyone's support during the minor round. I hope you stick with us through the finals. We'll have, obviously, plenty of coverage during the course of the next month or so. In the meantime, gentlemen, have a good week. It's a short week until Thursday night, which is a good thing, I reckon, because I don't reckon I could wait until Saturday. And same to everyone on the chat and watching on demand and listening on demand during the course of the week. I hope you enjoyed the cast. We will sign off, and we will see you next Sunday night for another edition of the Weekend Wrap.
Yep. Good night, all, and good luck, us.
Thank you. Good night, all.
See you guys.
Good night, all.